I just wanted to say I'm sorry that the lighting keeps kind of adjusting itself so much in this video. I did not realize as I was filming it that when I like move down, oh, it's not doing it now, but I promise you, you'll notice. I think it's because my blinds are open back there. So I apologize for that if it gets very yellowy and then it gets very white, but you're just gonna have to deal with it, I guess. I will note this for next time. Hey guys, so I'm excited for Christmas, and I realized with the crazy month that I had last month, I never did my September wrap-up, so I thought I'd just combine it with my October one and then do a TBR for November. Okay, so I only have one physical copy of the book that I read in September, and that is The Andromeda Strain by Crichton. And I gave this a 4 out of 5. I really like the plot, the whole alien virus kind of thing, but I was annoyed by the pace and there was just a lot of like science terms that I didn't fully understand and didn't really care enough to Google because I'm not like a science medicine person. So that got kind of annoying, but I did listen to the audiobook of this more than I read it, and it was a lot, the whole like science sections were a lot better to hear than to read. But overall, I really liked it and I would recommend it. So the other book that I read in September was Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie, and that was a book I borrowed from my friend, so I gave it back to her already. But I gave that a 4 out of 5 stars. It was the first Agatha Christie book that I've ever read, and it definitely makes me want to read more. I'd never really read a murder mystery before, and she's so iconic, and I'm really glad to have kind of dipped my toe into that genre, so recommend that one as well. It does make me wish I knew a little bit of French though, because there are some things that I had to Google Translate, so I was like, I have zero knowledge of French. In September, I also read The Martian by Andy Weir, which I gave to my dad to read, and I gave that one a 3 out of 5. I really like the movie. I saw the movie first. I really like the movie, but it was kind of like Andromeda Strain, where I wasn't too sure about the pace and then just the chapters and chapters of like science stuff. And for The Martian, like the plot's amazing, but I really do think in a lot of ways that the movie's actually better. It's just so slow. The book is so slow. You know, there are funny parts, like the writing's really good, but there's just whole chapters of just every other word is like a NASA term or some, you know, engineering term, or so in, you know, you're reading and I think his name's, yeah, Mark Watney, he's like, you know, I have to put the, you know, should I use blah 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 or blah 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 to fix the blah 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 so that I can go here and do this, and like none of it makes any sense to any person who isn't like super into astronauts and space and NASA. So it was very, I just kind of had to go with it and just kind of try and figure out what he's saying through context. And it was one of those ones that because you're inside his head, instead of just reading about him doing these things, first you're reading about him figuring out which thing to do and why, and then him planning out how to do it, and then he does it. So it's like, I'd rather have just gotten one, you know, this is him doing it and this is why. But it was like split up, and so the pace was really slow at points. So I gave it a 3 out of 5. I typically, in terms of my rating system, I typically don't give anything a 1, because if it's a 1 to me, that means I didn't finish it, because it was 1 out of 5 star material for me. 2's like, I definitely wouldn't read it again. It wasn't enjoyable, but I finished it anyway. So a 2's kind of just a 1 that I forced myself to finish. So 3's like, I did enjoy parts. It was good. I would recommend it to some people, but I wouldn't reread it. So just FYI, for me, The Martian was a 3. Okay, and then in October, I read Titus Andronicus by William Shakespeare, because I'm going to be in that play and I wanted to read it before I auditioned. I gave it 4 out of 5. I had seen the movie and I think I've read parts of it, but I've never read the whole thing. It's good. It's bloody. People are dying left and right, and what more could you really want? The next book I read in October was A Stolen Life by Jaycee Dugard. I've been wanting to read this for a while. It's a memoir of Jaycee, who got kidnapped, and I think she was in captivity for 18 years. And she had gotten kidnapped before I was even born, I believe. But I remember hearing about when she got out, because I remember being fairly young and seeing on the news that she was found and asking my mom who that was, and it was like the first time that a kidnapping, you know, as a kid, like I registered what that means and how scary that whole situation was. So I've been wanting to read this for a while. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars, and only really because of the writing, which you could argue isn't a good thing to judge a memoir like this on, because she isn't a writer. I didn't really go in expecting amazing writing, because that's not what this is about. This is just about someone who had this horrific thing happen to them and they want to just get their story out there. So I understand that. It definitely isn't one I'd reread, just because of the content. You know, it's very difficult to read what happened to her, and just memoirs in general I don't tend to read twice, because it's like I know what happens now. But it was very interesting, just for me too, who's interested in psychology, like psychologically. She talks a lot about the psychology of like kidnapped victims and her specific, like the couple who kidnapped her and what she thinks they're like and why they did it and that kind of stuff. So that was really interesting to me. The last book that I read in October, you guys should be so proud of me. I finished Cress by Marissa Meyer. It took me like 3 or 4 years and about 3 or 4 times of me trying to read it. So I've read like the first half of this like 4 times, and I finally just buckled myself in and was like, you're reading 100 pages a day until you finish it. And I finished it, and it was good. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I'm not surprised. I really like Cress. I really like Cinder and Scarlet, so I assumed that I would like Cress, and I really enjoyed it while I read it. So it's just one of those weird like fluke things where it's like, I don't really know why it took me so long to read and why it took me so many tries to read, but I finished it, and now I get to read Fairest, which I'm really excited about. Okay, so that's it for my September and October wrap up, and now I'm going to talk about the books that I want to read in November. Alright, so I have quite a big pile, I suppose. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I have 6 books, and today is November 2nd, Friday, so 2 weeks from tomorrow I'm getting married, and then I'm going on my honeymoon, and then when I get back there's about a week until the end of November. This is probably a little ambitious, but I'm gonna try my best to read as much as I can before the wedding and then after as well. So, without further ado, let's begin. The first book I want to read, which I have already started and I'm like a third of the way through, is An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. And I really, really like it so far. I don't really want to tell you guys the plot. You might already know the plot. I actually didn't know the plot until I got into it, and I really like not knowing anything about it. So I'm not going to tell you, but you can look it up if you want, but so far I'm really enjoying this, and I'm hoping to finish it this weekend. Okay, the next book I want to read, I have mentioned on a previous TBR, because I didn't finish it. I think it was my September TBR. So this one I still haven't got around to finishing it, but I'm hoping to this month, and that is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I really am not loving it, but I want to say that I've read it. I want to finish it just because it is so iconic, and it's just one of those books that I feel like you should read, even if you don't love it. It's not like excruciating to read or anything. It's just not really grabbing my attention, which is surprising to me because usually this seems like something that I would love. If I really buckle down, I can just finish this in one day, and that'll be that. And then I will have read it, I know how it ends, I can watch The Handmaid's Tale on Hulu, and life will be good. The next book I want to read is The Body by Stephen King, and I have heard good things about this, and it's just one of my Stephen Kings that is on the shorter side. So I just kind of wanted to read a Stephen King. I didn't get a chance to in October. I really wanted to read Needful Things by Stephen King in October, but it's like 900 pages, and I was too busy finishing Cress, which I'm really glad I did. So I do want to read a Stephen King that I own that I haven't read yet, so this is the one. Maybe this TBR isn't really overly ambitious. I should just believe in myself that I can do it. So I'll just read you the back of this book. 12-year-old Gordy LaChance and his 3 friends set out on a quest to find a boy from a nearby town who has disappeared. They search for his body along the railroad tracks during a miserably hot summer and soon learn that monsters are not lurking in their closets, but living in the hearts of people. And this was adapted into the film Stand By Me, which I did not know, and I really like that film, so we'll see. The next book I want to read is, I think, also one that I mentioned in my September TBR, A Torch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir. It's the second book in the, what's the trilogy called? Ember in the Ashes trilogy? So obviously I'm not going to tell you guys what this one is about, but I'm already like a third of the way through it, so, and it's really good. I just set it aside to do other things, and I need to get back into it. The next book I want to read is also a quick read, and this is Wishful Drinking by Carrie Fisher. My mom has the audiobook, I think, but I haven't really been commuting anywhere recently, so to me, like if I'm home, I rather just read it than listen to it, because I only really listen to audiobooks in the car. So I'm excited to read this. I love Carrie Fisher and I miss her. So the last book I want to read is The Clay Girl by Heather Tucker, and I talked about what this book is about in my book haul that I have not posted yet. So that will be up after this video because I wanted to get this November TBR up at the beginning of November. So I will go into more depth about this. I also talked more about Stolen and Wishful Drinking in that haul too. But this is a really weird sounding book and I am excited to read it. Alright guys, that's my video. As always, let me know if you have read any of these. Give this video a like and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.